This profoundly modified organic transit elf, profoundly modified, used in a way it was never intended, is, well, it's a divine support vehicle for the work that I try and do in the world. People imagine that it's a wonderful way to travel the country. I don't know. I can't attest to that. If I didn't do this to serve a mission, well, I do this to serve a mission. I don't do it to travel. I don't do it to enjoy. Because there is no infrastructure designed for a vehicle like this. I don't use bike paths. They're too narrow and it's too discourteous to traditional cyclists. Some road shoulders, like the last 3 days in Texas, are fabulous. Some don't exist. Some are hell. Some are rumble strip hell. And with 3 tire lines, the rear trailer wheels are pretty well aligned with the trike wheels, but the mid-trike tire, I've got 3 tire lines. I can't dance around potholes. The suspension in this wonderful vehicle is the tires. And I suppose this little rubber donut, in case you can see it, the suspension is the tires. That's not a complaint, it's a fact. I don't suspect that the original Wright brothers plane was a whole lot of fun to travel in. We've done about a little over 66,000 miles in 8 years. I used to do the factory designed 19 miles an hour, and because of the excessive weight of this heavily modified, highly loaded elf, I just got tired of breaking parts. Bicycle rims, for example, and hadn't yet found ones like this Halo SAS rim that is up to the task. Nothing else was. I'll leave it to you to research online what the standard elf is, but I'm sure in this overview I'll give you some obvious upgrades, like probably 300 watts on the roof now with this modified extension, as opposed to 100 watts on the standard elf. But the wattage that you need is very much a function of how far you want to travel, what times of year you want to travel, and how much weight you are. Nothing here by way of modifications is a credit to me, none. What I had was a mission need that far exceeded anything else that existed. And a fellow that I met at Standing Rock when I was fighting the pipeline, he was too, several weeks before I was arrested with 48 others facing 5 years in prison for protecting unceded native territory unviolently. Rex Litweiler saw a $100 Chinese trailer that I was pulling with several solar panels and said, "No, James, no, something better is possible." And I thought to myself, no, it's not. Well, after I got out of jail, I went to Rex in Michigan, and by gum, he designed and built the first version of this trailer. These are 100-watt panels, by the way. That burned 3 years ago. The whole rig burned 3 years ago. The cab was green at the time. in a Mississippi truck stop parking lot. Almost certainly it was lithium-ion batteries gone rogue. Lithium iron phosphate is what I was convinced by Rex to go to. They're more than 1,000 times less likely to ignite. They're twice the weight and size, but who cares? And I've got this 2 kilowatt battery here, another kilowatt battery in the trunk, and then another, or in the rear of the trailer, and then a reserve 2 kilowatt battery under the trailer. The solar panels that you see on the side, I don't need them in the 6 longer months of the year, but particularly the 4 shorter months of the year, these are only 2 of 10 or 12 panels on the vehicle, but they probably generate 30% in these short months because the sun is so low on the horizon. The design of this trailer, I just don't understand why everyone doesn't copy it. Again, Rex Litweiler was the original design. This recreated trailer was a fella in North Carolina. Con Dom is how I understand his name. He emerged in a miracle. He saw that this trailer had been destroyed. I can recreate that. Who are you? Well, he did. The 2 additional panels, or the overhang here, is supported by, these are the poles you would buy to affix a paint roller to reach the ceiling to stabilize things, and I tie them down with paracord you might see here. Probably I'll affix to this a segment or photographs on what this looks when it's cocked up. This lid is cocked up to 40-50 degrees to catch the sun and to create a space for me to be inside. It is fabulous. You know, we all have different needs, but I don't want to be stopped by weather, except the most extreme weather. And wind from the side, truck wash with some of these tall bicycle trailers I see. I just don't know how they do it. With this cocked up, I've got plenty of room to sit inside. Small electric kettle. I used to use a crock pot. It just isn't appropriate to my work anymore. But I had the electricity I needed for that. Plenty of room to lie down. 1, 2, or 3 inexpensive sleeping bags. I've done 10 below zero comfortably. Plenty of warm clothing. Different vehicles have different design requirements. Someone that lives in a flat neighborhood where they're going to use this with beautiful roads is not going to do anything like what I've done. Someone that travels the country and does not want to get stopped by anything but extreme weather, and doesn't want to get stopped by a 10 or 15 degree grade in front of them that all of a sudden pops up or is unavoidable, is not going to do what we've done. This is a 56 tooth sprocket, I think, going to a mid-vehicle hub, the wonderful New Vinci 380% range hub. This is the pedal chain on this side. On the other side is a similar tooth sprocket going to what's called a cyclone motor. I don't know if I'll be able to let you see it or not. It's a $100 Chinese motor designed for pedicabs and that sort of thing. It's only 750 watts, but it has internal planetary gearing, so it's very high RPM internally, which means it can give me the levels of torque that I need for climbing. And with the external gearing that I have, this is the one on the trailer pedicab axle, well, we can do 15% grade, and we're about 1,000 pounds with me in it. This pedicab with a transaxle gives me drive in both tires, which in the rare situation where we need traction, it makes all the difference in the world versus trying to drive off of only this rear trike wheel, which incidentally, it was just impossible to find a bicycle rim and spoke arrangement that could hold up to the stresses that even at 10 miles an hour we put on this. We were constantly shattering rims. All it takes is one pothole, and pedaling 5 hours a day, sometimes it's just not possible to see and avoid all of them, depending upon lighting. So we've gone to a dirt bike rim. These are 24-inch tires on this bicycle, tires and rims on the front. It turns out that a 19-inch motorcycle dirt bike rim with an appropriate tire sits at the same outside diameter height, so I didn't change the dynamics of the vehicle. It's just wonderful. I forget the gauge of the spokes. Maybe they're 10 gauge, but they're very heavy duty spokes. The trailer arrangement, boy, the Elf was not designed for this. So just another disclaimer. What's being done to this poor Elf, as carefully as I use it, it just wasn't designed for. But this one has done 30,000 miles so far. So into the aluminum struts that run up to the front of the vehicle is inserted this heavy steel. Let me give a plug for steel. People that are looking for serious long-term travel, don't be obsessed with weight. Be concerned with weight, don't be obsessed with weight. This is the 4th or 5th attempt to overbuild this trailer hitch arrangement. Each time we thought we were overbuilding. With concrete slab roads, for example, every 30 feet is like being hit with a sledgehammer as the wheel drops and the trailer stresses. So, boy, use steel where you have to. Con Dom, the fella in North Carolina, had that arrangement come to a long aluminum pole that you might be able to see underneath here. Or aluminum beam, I guess you'd call it. There we go. It's fabulous. The whole structure of this vehicle that he designed is a standard square aluminum tubing and or rectangular tubing. Most of it is square tubing like this. 2-inch tubes. It's all bolted together using lots of Loctite, and for 30,000 miles It's been wonderfully, amazingly stable. He's a brilliant engineer. The interest of this vehicle was not to be a production of this modified, heavily modified system. Was not designed to be production. It's purely pragmatic to support the work that I do. So, well, just laugh at or admire the ugliness but functionality. It works. Electronics, that's the Grin Technologies Phase Runner, which actually I'm not using right now. I don't know if I can get you a picture of it, but their prior generation controller, called the Grinfinian, is less elegant electronically, but with this load and my setup, it just provides a much more powerful, stable environment. That's not a knock on the Phase Runner, which I do use in the cab to drive the rear trike wheel. Their cycle analyst is just a dream for me. It gives me all the readouts that I need on to manage power, the watt hours we've used so far in travel, the average watt hours per mile, the human watts that I've expended. There is a torque sensor in the bottom bracket that I got from Grin Technologies. Not an easy, comfortable company to work with. No one in the e-bike industry is yet. It's an emerging market. But boy, do they know their stuff, and do they design great equipment. That big hub in the rear trike wheel is an inert e-bike motor, so that I had something to bolt those large sprockets on that we looked at before into a fixed relationship with the rear trike wheel, and therefore with the motors. And as a result, I have regenerative braking, which comes pretty automatically with the Grin Technologies cycle analyst and controllers. And there you see the get an accurate read on how much regenerative braking, negligible in this flat Texas area. I've gotten as high as 30, 40, 50% in the mountains of Colorado, for example. And I'm not burning brake pads, which is just something I don't like to do, and is probably pretty horrible in a heavy rig like this. Average speed, trip miles, and I log all this stuff every day so that I'm constantly learning about the amount of energy that we're using, and that, well, I can manage the fuel that I've got and not run out of fuel, which pretty rarely do I do. The solar panels come into this meter. Right now we're generating 220 watt hours per hour. So far today, it's about 10 in the morning, I think, we've generated 419. I'm shaded right now. Generally this time of day we'd be generating about 420 watt hours per hour, and midday more like 500. There just isn't the time to do the job on this that I'd like to, this video overview. And I just had some technical problems, so some of this may be very redundant. Other parts may have been left out. Mechanically, underneath my seat here is the, at the other end of this pedal chain, under my seat, is the wonderful Novinci N380 variable, infinitely variable hub, done 30,000 miles. It has a rep for not being very durable. I don't know where that rep came from. 30,000 miles with this heavy rig. In addition to that, with the cycle analyst and these two buttons from Grin Technologies, modifying the cycle analyst, I've got what I experience as the equivalent of a 3-sprocket chainring on the front. This is a 3-position switch, and boy, as many as a 30 sprocket cassette. I don't use those. I use, I think right now I'm probably using 10. So 3 times 10, 30 presets that, again, as I say, I experience as electronic sprockets. It's a fabulous system. And when I go from flat terrain like Colorado right now, like Texas right now, into the mountains of Colorado, I want to change that gearing. And with the cycle analyst, all of this is very easily modified. The pedal assist device is referring to the torque sensor I got from Grin Technologies that's in my bottom bracket. And here's where I would modify the way I'm using that torque sensor. Am I taking a multiple of the human power to the electronic power, which I modify with those switches that I mentioned? There are 3 different modes. Which are, those 3 switches are defined here. And again, as I go from flat terrain to mountainous terrain, I'll spend 60 seconds and provide various settings there more appropriate to the terrain. What I see on my display as I'm traveling is under my control. The values that rotate, the values that are fixed, the values that I can scroll through. It's a wonderful thing. If by now you're thinking, wow, James, this whole thing is not very simple. Well, it's not. It's just not. Boy, I rarely, almost never let anyone drive this thing because this is an experimental vehicle. It takes me 15 minutes to explain to them how to use it. And this is not a standard organic transit ELF, which is extremely easy to use. This is a complex way of using the Grin Technologies products. The cycle analyst can be pretty much as simple as pie. The folks at Grin Technologies are becoming easier to work with. They're nice folks. They love engineering. They haven't loved customer support. No one in the e-bike industry does, but they're getting better at it. I can't speak too highly of their products. I've mentioned that I have 2 motors with the Grin Technologies multi-motor shunt. It's 5 minutes to wire them to the 2 motors to that shunt, and the cycle analyst manages everything from there. I sure wish I had had the skills to do the detailed design that I've been showing you on any of this, but I don't. What I did have was a vision of what was needed, a sense of what was possible, and the mission inspired first Rex Litweiler and then Con Dom in North Carolina to make it all happen. But in addition, if I have a superpower, it is I'm willing to be told I'm stupid by someone that didn't need to put it that way. Listen, man, I almost hit you. I didn't see you. And first I internally get pissed off, and then I think, well, why did that guy tell me that? He's not trying to be mean. He actually didn't want to hit me. And the first time I heard that was after a year, probably, and I thought, guy's an idiot. Why didn't he see me? I have these 150 lumen, I have a 150 lumen cycle light on there. Well, James, he didn't see you. Okay, I'll add a second light, and then a third, and then the flags. So each time someone, I almost hit you. And then finally a year ago, the light bar, and I don't hear anymore, hey, I almost hit you. The tall flag happened about a year ago when a kindly police officer, I was in Arizona on a highway shoulder. Oh man, when you go down in these dips here, they can't see you over the hill. And I've since heard, boy, the only thing I saw in this vehicle was that flag. Before, I mentioned when you're designing a vehicle for serious travel, boy, consider the roads. Some of them are wonderful. Some of them are unavoidable demolition derby roads. Cracked pavement, concrete slab roads, a lip, a speed bump, if you will, that's 3 inches high, where concrete meets asphalt, that sometimes you can see and sometimes you can't see. Use steel where you have to. But on the other hand, keep your weight as low as you can. This vehicle invited me to, oh, yeah, I'll have 50 pounds of tools in these storage areas. And I'll have another 50 pounds on this rear storage area. And I'll have additional stuff in the trailer. I have a lot of stuff in the trailer. But, James, why do you keep breaking parts? Oh, because we're so heavy. So it's a balance. There are so many considerations in designing a vehicle like this, but 3 that I just think get too overlooked is the quality of roads that the user is going to be traveling on. Are they in a suburban neighborhood with manicured roads, or are they out in the middle of a town or a city where they don't have the money to maintain the roads? Are they in an area where they can comfortably avoid climbing for more than 5 seconds that exceeds 6-degree grade, that might be 10-degree grade, that might be 12-degree grade, that might be 15-degree grade? Think those things through and think about wind. Think about whether you're happy to shelter in a 3-day stretch of 30, 40, 50, 60 mile an hour wind gusts. Think about whether you can avoid being on highway shoulders where semis are coming by at 75 miles an hour with truck wash that might flip you over. Just think about those things and design accordingly. Each of these 100-watt solar panels, sun power, boy, they have my confidence. I broke a lot of solar panels until I realized that they needed to be on a inflexible substrate. This is twin-walled polycarbonate, 8 millimeter, I think, which is what the shell of this trailer is. Haven't broken anymore, but SunPower still, Grin Technologies sells them. You can get them elsewhere. Is extremely reliable and as productive as any 100-watt solar panels. Each of them comes together in a pair into the $75 programmable solar MPPT charge controller that Grin Technology sells, and you can now get it elsewhere. Support companies like Grin when you can, buy from them when you can. Each of them comes together in a pair. The ones on the trailer come into 3 of those in this box here. The ones on the roof and the ones on the side come into those $75 MPPT charge controllers behind my seat here, and then travel up to where my batteries come together, up in the nose of the cab, as measured by this meter that I showed you before, and then into the battery. The whole electronic system, the motors, the solar panels, the batteries, are all on the same 48-volt bus. Everything running in parallel. And it works. By the way, I just can't plug the lithium iron phosphate batteries too much. They just in every way are less dangerous. They're pennies on the dollar compared to lithium ion batteries. They are twice the weight, twice the size. And on a conventional e-bike, well, that's silly. But on a rig like this or something in between, it should be seriously considered. And I was helped to build the first one. And mostly that got over my fear to buy the prismatic cells and bolt them together, wire them together using, I recommend, I don't use the widely available DALY BMS. Use the similarly priced, easily sourced JK BMS, which is infinitely more reliable and does a much better job of dynamic balancing of the cells. I didn't have time to do this video, and I didn't have time not to. There is 8 years of learning and evolving that has happened here, and it was wrong not to share it in this form, and I'm glad to do so. Anyone that has casual questions, please don't ask them. Anyone that watches this video 2 or 3 times and has some thoughtful questions, I'll be delighted to try and answer them. I suppose the comment section would be a good place for that, but any way you can reach me. Over the years, there's lots of information on our travels and what we do and why we do it and the vehicle. Look in the description for a URL to a technical discussion of a non-video nature, a link to that. Search on James McGinley, Start Loving, solar vehicle, a picture of the rig, and lots of information would come up. As I've said, there is just no infrastructure for a vehicle like this, of our speed, of our width, for our non-shock absorber world. That's among the reasons that I avoid traveling at night, except when I have to, and when I have to, I can. This is a shaped beam headlight. Wish I could remember the name of it. It's a fabulous item. Not that expensive, 50 bucks maybe. I can point it to give, at my 8 miles an hour, it is fabulous. These Those are motorcycle headlights, standard with the Elf. Very, very bright, but they are not shaped beam. People look at this and, oh, they think car, and that's fine. I thought, without realizing it, I thought car. And my point is maintenance. Anyone that is a serious bicyclist, I think, spends a lot of time maintaining their bicycle. Well, this is like maintaining a bicycle for 3 or 4 or 5 people, I would say. And boy, it was a couple of years that I just didn't want to step up to that. And the vehicle kept saying, fine, James, that's fine. Don't stay ahead of the maintenance. Don't keep nuts tight. Don't worry about it. If you want to spend your time on the side of the road dealing with disasters. And I finally realized, okay, you're right. I don't want to spend time dealing with disasters. And I've gotten much better at staying ahead of the maintenance that needs to be done. And the potential catastrophe checking, wiring, nuts, spokes, chains. Oh my goodness. That's still something we haven't mastered, but we've gotten a lot better. A chain comes off a sprocket and wires are destroyed, and so pay attention to your chains. We've done Colorado. We've done North Dakota in the middle of winter. Boy, it gets really cold. These batteries are insulated with easily available insulation, and inside them is our sleeping pads. Each one has a sleeping pad wrapped around it. Lithium iron phosphate provides pretty good energy life when below freezing, when the battery is below freezing. But if it's charged below freezing, it ruins the battery. So I need to keep them above freezing. Me, at Standing Rock 8 years ago, November through February, boy, it was cold. And I was in an unheated tent, and that's when I learned, James, you are a heater. Just keep it insulated. And it works. What doesn't work is persistent snow and ice on the roads. And that's what we watch for in the wintertime, is to stay away from places where there's persistent snow and ice on the roads. We can wait out a snowstorm that's going to melt 3 days out, but snow that hangs around all winter takes away our shoulders and makes things much more dangerous. Courtesy. It's understandable to me that conventional cyclists demand to take a lane when it's not absolutely necessary. We have rights too. Okay, that's fine. But nobody sought to build the infrastructure that wasn't designed for us. And it's like poking someone in the eye. Well, I have the right to poke you in the eye. Okay, you know what? But I'm going to get pissed off at it. I enjoy being courteous. If I have to pull over every 30 seconds so that I'm not holding up traffic behind me, I enjoy that. And I've gotten a little smarter to plan my schedule so that I've got time to do that. And with these lights, which are courtesy, people don't want to be surprised. They're not used to seeing a 8-mile-an-hour vehicle on their road. And with these 150 lumen cycle lights and the light bar, unless they're deeply into texting or into drugs, they can't not see us way, way, way in time to begin thinking, whoa, boy, I need to think about this. We've got a challenge here. And that's courtesy. The last couple of days, I've gotten at least 5 encouraging honks a day from trucks semis as they pass me. I'm on the shoulder of a 75-mile-an-hour road. Aggressive shows of courtesy make the road safer for all of us. Instead of, that damn cyclist, it's, hey, he's trying to do his part, we'll do our part.